Hello and welcome to Middle Eastern Thursday. So today I have for you just 5 fragrances. Now you know that I typically do lineups that have like 15, 20, 30 fragrances, right? But if you've been with me for a while, you know that when I show up with just 5 fragrances, it's because I consider them to be very, very special. And these 5 have completely impressed me. So I am going to be sharing with you 4 fragrances, and then the 5th one would be like the combination of the most recent Khair perfume oils, the ones that were just launched, and I have all 4 of them here. But we need to talk about these fragrances because they are really special and ones that I really think that you have to try. So let's go ahead and get started. But before we do so, if this is your first time here, I'm Arahi and I'm your fragrance concierge because I'm totally committed to creating the best fragrance experience for you. I upload videos multiple times a week, and on this channel, we love to talk about all types of fragrances. So if that sounds like the type of content that you're interested in, and like a good plan, then please consider subscribing, give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget, leave a comment. Let's go. All right, so let's go ahead and start with the first fragrance. And this one is from Mamlakat Al Oud, which is a brand that I have not talked about here in quite a while. But I must tell you that I do enjoy their fragrances. And this one is Mayar Aurora. And here is the very, very nicely done bottle. It is very weighty. The cap does not feel cheap at all. It has a certain bit of weight to it. Not very weighty, but it's not like plasticky, like too light or anything like that. So yeah, but the bottle is absolutely beautiful. I mean, look at all this detail. So this is a fragrance that as soon as I sniffed it, it reminded me of YSL Libre, but not like the YSL Libre, like one of the flankers or anything like that. No, this one reminds me of the original YSL Libre. And this is a fragrance that does open fresh, spicy, with quite a bit of a citrusy quality to it, but it's not coming like from a bergamot or a lemon or anything like that. It's really coming like from mandarin orange and or orange itself. But the opening is definitely airy. It's not like a freshie or anything like that, but the opening is definitely airy. Now, as the journey continues, you are immediately going to pick up on the florals. And in the florals, we have 2 stars, and it will be very clear to you that it's just those 2. It's all about the lavender and the jasmine. Now, in addition to the lavender and the jasmine, there's also a tad of orange blossom. I don't pick up on the orange blossom as much as I do, on the other 2, because the lavender is in the lead, followed by the jasmine, and then the orange blossom. But midway in the olfactory journey, you're still going to be picking up on that airy quality that the fragrance had in the opening. And as part of that airy quality, you are going to clearly pick up on the note of ginger. So you have the ginger in the backdrop with all those florals taking the lead. As you approach the dry down, you are going to start to sniff on a very powerful vanilla presence, because at the dry down, the lavender and vanilla are completely in control of this scent. So as you approach the dry down, and once you get to the dry down, you are going to pick up on the vanilla and a tad of ambergris. That's really all that I pick up as far as base notes. But in the end, this scent is one that will remind you quite a bit of YSL Libre. So if you've been looking for a more affordable alternative, a scent that may be like a twist to that one, well then this one is one that you definitely want to try because it's been done exquisitely. And I couldn't recall if I had, like another fragrance that I've reviewed in the past that, reminded me of YSL Libre. But if I have, obviously this one has taken the lead because this is really, really good. It's been done beautifully. I think that this is a fragrance that is suitable for just about any age, and you could probably pull it off every season of the year. I would be a little bit cautious with a very, very hot summer day because this is really a powerful fragrance, and we'll talk more about it when I tell you about performance. But all in all, this is a fragrance that you could most likely pull every season of the year for every occasion, day and night. This is definitely a signature scent worthy kind of scent that could take you to all the way like from the office to the gym to a very, very formal event. So you could definitely make it your signature scent. It also performs very well. And I've only had this fragrance here for several weeks, so it's not like it's been sitting in my collection for months, but I can already tell you that the performance is quite stellar because it is giving me a full day wear to the tune of 8+ hours, and it does have a moderate sillage with a strong projection during the first, I would say, 90 minutes, not more than that. But all in all, I think that this is an incredible release from Mamlakat Al Oud. And yeah, let us know if you tried Mayar. So the next fragrance that I want to discuss with you is from Maison Asrar. But before we continue, let me just, because I did forget, let me just let you know that all of the fragrances and oils that I will be discussing with you today have been sent to me. So this next one is from Maison Asrar, this one and the next one. And I have to tell you, I've been a fan of Maison Asrar for so long. If you've been with me from the beginning of my Middle Eastern fragrances journey, you know that I have featured so many of their fragrances. But I have to tell you that these two, as soon as I tried them, they just took my breath away, literally. They have been done exquisitely, but wait until I tell you about them. So let's start with Muharib and look at this very, very interesting, different kind of bottle. And I have to tell you, this bottle feels very, very luxurious. It is very, very, very weighty because this is like a stone kind of material. And then the cap is not plasticky, or it doesn't feel cheap in any kind of way. It's a very, very different kind of bottle, but very beautiful. There's nothing cheesy about it, in my opinion. So this is a fragrance that as soon as I uncapped it and sniffed it, you know how I always spray out my fragrances? As soon as I sprayed this fragrance, it reminded me immediately of a Xerjoff fragrance. And you guys know Xerjoff is my favorite brand. And it reminds me of Naxos. But the thing about Naxos, and let's start with that, is that to me, that's very much a unisex fragrance. And what I'm finding with this one is that to me, this one leads a tad to the feminine side, just a little bit, but it definitely, in my opinion, does lean. So this is a fragrance that opens up with a very, very strong citrusy presence. And you are clearly going to pick up on like bergamot and lemon, clearly. In addition to that, the opening does have a floral presence, but in the opening, I don't immediately recognize what floral is involved, but there is definitely a floral presence. In the opening, you're also going to get like a very faint presence of vanilla, but it's definitely there. As the journey continues is when the magic of this fragrance unfolds, because you are going to encounter an exquisitely done honey note. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know that I've always told you that the note of honey is not an easy one to get right in a fragrance. But here, it has been done to perfection. It is smooth. There is not any kind of little funk to it. It's just a beautifully done scent. And the sweetness that you get with the fragrance, which at the opening, by the way, it's not very sweet in the opening, but as you approach midway in the olfactory journey, the fragrance is definitely sweet. Not very sweet, but it is sweet. And I can clearly tell that it's coming from like a mix of maybe like a vanilla and honey. Now, as you approach midway in the olfactory journey, you are clearly going to distinguish one floral. And the one floral that really sticks out to me is the note of lavender. It is not a dominant lavender, because the other thing that I love about this fragrance is that the blend has been done so exquisitely that there's not a specific note at any point that really takes over the entire scent. You know how that happens with some fragrances when you're in the journey? There's like one note that takes over and everybody else just has to like comply. Not in this fragrance. All of the notes, the chords and tonalities play very, very nicely. So you are going to pick up on that lavender, but in addition to that lavender, the fragrance becomes a bit like fresh, like it starts fresh spicy, I guess, and then it becomes like a bit warm spicy on my skin and to my nose. And the one note that I do pick up is the note of cinnamon. Now, in addition to that floral presence, to that spicy quality of the cinnamon and those citrusy notes that that still play a certain kind of role, making this an airy scent midway in the olfactory journey, you're also going to start to pick up in a very faint way on an incredibly done note of tobacco. And that note of tobacco is going to give the fragrance yet another level of sophistication. Truly, this scent is incredible. But again, it does remind me very much of Naxos. Tremendously. It really, really does. To me, this is a fragrance that is perfect for the fall and winter season and the opening of spring. But truly, I think that you may be able to get away with wearing it all throughout the year. I would just, again, not pull this fragrance on a very, very hot summer day, but I think you can get away with wearing it during most seasons of the year. I think this is suitable for just about any age. And it is a fragrance that really does not have oud whatsoever. And I don't pick up on musk either. Now, because I don't pick up on that musk and there is no oud, this is a fragrance that is definitely non-offensive and that is very versatile. So you can dress it up, you can dress it down for just about any occasion. This fragrance performs beautifully because it borders on beast. And I just received this fragrance maybe like a week ago, and I did spray it out immediately. But I have to tell you that from the get-go, it definitely performed, because when I first sprayed it, I was so enthralled by, wow, this is reminding me of Naxos, which is a fragrance that I absolutely love and I own. And it reminded me so much of that fragrance that I immediately sprayed it on my skin. And I have to tell you that thank goodness I did not overspray, because again, this is a very intense fragrance. This is not the type that you spray and within a couple of hours it's an intimate skin scent. No, because this definitely exceeds the 8-hour mark without having to overspray or respray. It has a very strong projection that exceeds the 2-hour mark and a moderate sillage. But in the end, you are going to get an exquisite scent where the lavender does take a lead role within the florals. It's an airy fragrance that has an air of elegance to it, a very beautiful, beautiful fragrance that also has quite a bit of vanilla, a touch of tobacco that adds character to it, and it also brings in like a tonka that gives the fragrance like a caramelly effect. But the sweetness that you're going to get in that dry down scent and throughout the wear is definitely coming from an exquisitely done note of honey. Incredible fragrance. I highly recommend it. If you tried it, please let us know what you think. What has been your experience? How are you enjoying it? Had you heard of this fragrance? Moving on. Now, this next fragrance is also from Maison Asrar, and I have to tell you, now, these two fragrances are just so incredible. And of course, I will have a link for you for any of the fragrances that I share with you today. And where I have a discount code, I will also be sure to leave it for you. But I am telling you, these 5 fragrances all have me on a chokehold. But this next one, let me just tell you. So this one is Faris Al Arab, and this is also from Maison Asrar. Now look at this incredibly beautiful, different, interesting, very, very interesting bottle. This one is also very weighty. The cap does not feel cheap, just like in the other one, but the feel is very luxurious. There's quite a bit of weight to it and presence. Now, this is a fragrance that will immediately, when I tell you immediately remind you of a Clive Christian fragrance that I love, and that is Blonde Amber. Now, this fragrance, I don't know how they did it, what they did, but it really reminds me of that fragrance quite a bit. So this is a fragrance that when you first spray it, it is going to put you like in a different total different mental space. It is just so incredible. So the thing about this fragrance is that in the opening, it immediately sets the tone for what you're going to get in the fragrance. And there's a very present cherry liqueur kind of note. That cherry liqueur note definitely makes a difference in this fragrance. It sets the tone for all of the other notes to play around it, for the accords, and for the tonalities. That cherry is very real. There's nothing synthetic about it. It is a very fresh, juicy, ripe, and you know, even though it's fresh, because the opening of this fragrance brings with it a certain degree of airiness. That's what I mean by that freshness of the cherry. But the cherry is such a deep scent, if you know what I mean. And it's a boozy cherry, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But it's not excessively boozy. It's just been done like enough for you to pick up on the scent of the cherry clearly and know that it's the star of the fragrance. As the journey continues, the fragrance does become quite ambery. And midway in the olfactory journey, in addition to that cherry liqueur, which never leaves, you're going to pick up on a very present, not necessarily dominant, but very, very present note of vanilla. And as you approach the dry down, that vanilla is joined with the tonka bean, which I pick up on clearly. And together they give the fragrance like a sweet, caramelly, almost bordering on yummy kind of scent. This to me is really not a gourmand. This is like a fragrance that is going to give you that yummy effect without making you smell like food. But it is very, very addictive. It is very alluring. It will pull. It's a very warm feel to it, which I think makes it perfect for like the fall and winter season. But we'll get into all of that in a minute. The other thing about this fragrance is that it is truly a musk-based fragrance. There are woody notes that are in the background at the dry down. They're in the background of that cherry liqueur combined with the vanilla and the tonka. That entire blend scent is like placed on a backdrop of some woody notes, where I do pick up on that like sandalwood, but not very much. But there are woody notes, and if I recall correctly, there's cedar and there's sandalwood, but I don't pick up on them specifically all the time, clearly, like individually. It's like a blend of the woody notes in the backdrop of that, again, cherry liqueur with quite a bit of vanilla and a touch of like a spicy quality to it, which brings that warmth that I described before, because the fragrance is warm, spicy. But this is a fragrance that is musk based. The musk is not animalic in any kind of way, but it is a 3 to 4 level musk for sure. You're going to pick up on it, but it's it's done so nicely. It is very, very appealing. It is a scent that once you spray it, you're going to want to spray yourself again and again and again. To me, this fragrance is best suited for the seasons of fall and winter. To me, this is not a spring and summer fragrance. I mean, you know what I tell you all the time, wear what you want, when you want, and how you want. But for me, this is more of a fall and winter kind of fragrance. At that, I think is best suited for the ages of 25 plus, and you could wear it for any occasion that's not necessarily like a very casual or informal. Like if you're wearing a pair of jeans and a nice sweater and you're just going to the movies, you can definitely pull this fragrance. But I wouldn't wear it for like a shorts, like a very casual, like a walk in the park or things like that, because it's going to feel a little bit out of place. As far as performance, this also borders on beast on my skin and on paper. This exceeds the 8-hour mark. It is going to give you a strong projection during the first 90 minutes. And I think that we can expect this to be a full beast on mode fragrance, just as Muharib, the one that I shared with you before, because these fragrances, again, have only been with me for maybe at tops a couple of weeks. I don't even think that. I mean, I get so many things that I forget. But honestly, these have not been sitting enough in my collection for me to say that we've seen their very best. Oh no, I think the best is yet to come, which makes me even more excited, because imagine if I'm talking so highly of them now and I'm appreciating the scent so much, imagine once you allow this fragrance to sit for a couple of months, wow, we are definitely going to be obsessed. Right now, these two have me on a chokehold because they have been done exquisitely. I mean, I am just so impressed, but I'm also not very surprised because Maison Asrar has been, at least in my opinion, pretty consistent. So yet another solid release coming from the house of Maison Asrar. All right, so next I'm going to be sharing with you a fragrance that I am sure you have all been waiting for, because this fragrance is part of a line that so many people just absolutely love. I have to be honest with you, I do own all the fragrances in this collection, but there's a couple of them that are not really my favorites whatsoever. I mean, it's not a dislike, it's just that they didn't do much for me. But let's talk about this one that I'm going to share with you today, because wow is all I have to say. So this is the latest from the Qissa line, and this one is Qissa Gala. Now look at this gorgeous bottle. First of all, the color. Oh wow, the color is just beautiful. And the bottle, just like in the previous ones, the bottle is quite weighty. The cap does not feel cheap. It's not very heavy, but it doesn't feel cheap. Overall, the bottle itself has a certain degree of presence to it. But the color is what's really getting me in this one. But let's talk about the juice. But before we talk about the juice, let's talk about the Qissa line for a little bit. So let's start with Qissa Delicious, and I'm going to be sharing them with you in no particular order. So this is not the order in which they've been launched, because if I recall correctly, we started with Qissa Pink, which I'm going to be talking about in a minute. Then it was Qissa Blue, if I recall correctly. And now here, then we had Qissa Delicioso, and now we've completed with Qissa Gala. God only knows what else is going to be in the future. But Qissa Delicioso is a fragrance, or Qissa Delicious. I don't know. I always called it Qissa Delicioso. If you've been with me for a while, you know that. But anyway, so this is a fragrance that is all about a note of dark chocolate, marshmallow. It has a ton of vanilla, a certain degree of a floral presence where the jasmine is the star, but it's truly a floral's presence, not just the jasmine. The fragrance is really not about the jasmine. The fragrance to me is more about that dark chocolate and marshmallow combination with a ton of vanilla. I can't stress that enough. On a background of musk. The musk is like a level 3 to 4, but not animalic in any kind of way. But this is definitely a musk-based fragrance. But this fragrance is so addictive. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. All of my Qissa fragrances have been sitting for quite a while in my collection. So, I think it's over a year at this point. So when I speak about them, I am really telling you that they are really, really special. Now, Qissa Blue is the next one that I want to remind you of. So Qissa Blue to me is a fresh, spicy, citrusy, bordering on true freshy kind of fragrance. This is the type of fragrance that I would not pull during the fall or winter season, but I think it is a very good fragrance for the spring and summer seasons specifically. Here you are going to find several spicy notes, but the most present spicy note to my nose from the opening of the fragrance is the note of ginger. But here's the thing about this fragrance. To me, this is truly a unisex fragrance. It does not lean in any direction. This one at the beginning was a like for me. And then through time, it's become quite a bit of a like. It's not a deep love for me. This is one of the ones that is not a deep love for me. It is a very strong like. Now, in addition to those notes that I just shared with you, there are two notes that play a critical role in the twist of this fragrance. The first one is the note of leather, followed by the note of incense. You are going to pick up on those two notes, but they have been done so smoothly. And when I first tried this fragrance, there was a bit of screechiness to the fragrance. There were a couple of notes that were like really sticking out, and the leather happened to be one of them. But this fragrance has now been sitting in my collection for quite a while, and I can tell you that the leather and the incense play so beautifully with all of the other notes and accords. Truly a beautiful fragrance, but this one was Qissa Blue. So this next one is a fragrance that if you've been with me since the beginning of my Middle Eastern fragrances journey, you will recall when I hauled it, and it was not a love for me whatsoever. I actually didn't like it, period. And so many other content creators were just raving about it and saying how great it was, and so many of you were definitely in love with it, but it just didn't do it for me at all. Now this fragrance has had a chance to sit in my collection for quite a while, and it is still not a love, but it is at least a like. There's just something about the whole composition of it. I don't know, but I'm speaking about Qissa Pink. And this one has been a love for so many of you for so long. And I'm so happy for you because I wanted to love it too. But this is one that really, just didn't do it for me. Now, this is a fragrance that does have a fruity and floral presence to it. The fruity presence is more about like a coconut. What I really get primarily is the coconut. And then in the florals, I do pick up on the rose, a little bit of jasmine, and violet, if I recall correctly. The dry down of this fragrance is powdery, but not excessively powdery, but it is a fragrance that will give you that powdery dry down. It does have some vanilla, but not a lot. It has some woody presence, and if I recall correctly, there's some patchouli. The patchouli is smooth. The patchouli did not play a role in me liking it or disliking it. As a matter of fact, I do enjoy the note of patchouli, but this fragrance really just didn't do it for me. Right now, it is just a like. And I do keep it in my collection, so of course I can compare it to others because I have a feeling that this is going to continue. Today we're looking at the new one, the latest one, but I think that this is a collection that's going to continue to have flanker after flanker because most of their fragrances are really, really loved. All right, so now let's go ahead and talk about the latest Qissa, right? And this one is Gala. Now, Gala is a fragrance that as soon as you sniff it, it's going to remind you of the Huda Easy Bake fragrance. And it will remind you quite a bit of that fragrance. But I do think that there's a tad of a twist in this one because we do find the note of plum and we also find the note of musk, which is definitely not present. This one to me is a little bit less sweet, but at the end of the day, it reminds me very, very much of that fragrance. This is a fragrance that is a true combination of white and yellow florals. Within the white florals, the one that sticks out to me the most is the note of gardenia. And within the yellow florals, it's all about the ylang ylang. Now, are there others that you're going to get light sniffs of? Yes, absolutely. But to me, those are the two in the lead. The fragrance opens up very sweet, okay? Not sickly sweet, but it is very sweet. The white florals make their appearance immediately, setting the tone for them being in the lead for sure. Now, midway in the olfactory journey, you are going to pick up on a note of coconut, and that coconut is not super creamy. It's like a little bit creamy. It borders on being a little bit flaky and a little bit creamy. I don't know. But I think that the reason I'm picking it up that way is because this fragrance hasn't even been launched, by the way. This was so kindly sent to me by the Paris Corner team and Aroma Concepts. But honestly, this has not even launched. So it hasn't even been sitting in my collection for a full week. I did spray it out. I did test it on skin. I did test it on paper. But at the end of the day, this fragrance definitely needs to sit. So I think that much of what I'm telling you today is going to amplify or get even better. But I have to tell you that I'm already impressed with this one. This one is definitely a love for me. That scent is absolutely beautiful. But let me continue explaining the fragrance. So you are going to get that coconut, and it's like an in-between creamy coconut and kind of flaky coconut, not dry in any kind of way, but a little bit flaky. And then in addition to that, you are going to pick up on the note of plum. But the plum, for me, takes more of a present role than the coconut. And I'm wondering if the color of the bottle has something to do with the note of plum, because it is definitely a note that I pick up on. As you approach the dry down, to me, the vanilla intensifies more and more. There is quite a bit of vanilla here, but the vanilla is not the star of this fragrance. Honestly, right now, I can't even tell you who's the star of this fragrance because the blend is very, very nicely done, but I also feel that there's a couple of notes and accords that, as it has the chance to sit, much like in the previous ones, it's going to really show us what it can give you. But fortunately, from the get-go, this is a fragrance that has been performing very nicely because it does give me a full day wear with a moderate sillage and a moderate projection. The projection for me doesn't last more than 90 minutes, and after that it does become a skin scent, but one that will definitely give you whiffs of the fragrance all throughout the day. And if someone approaches you really close, they will definitely get a sniff of this beauty. This fragrance has absolutely no oud to my nose, but it does have a musk, and the musk here is definitely to the tune of maybe a 2 more 3, but it's not animalic in any kind of way. This is suitable for any age, and I really think that you may be able to wear this any season of the year for any occasion, day or night. For me, this is unisex and maybe leans a tad to the feminine side. All right, so next let's go ahead and talk about the most recent launch, also from Paris Corner. And these are the Khair perfume oils. As you can see, I have all 4 of them here. I had done a first impression for you during a Saturday morning Chatty Scent Corner video. I shared these 4 and I told you that I was immediately impressed. I actually did an unboxing during that video and I was just so impressed. I am here to tell you today that these have got to be some of the best perfume oils that I have in my collection. And I have a ton of perfume oils from different brands, you know, from Western niche all the way to designer to, you know, Middle Eastern. So because I really do love a good perfume oil. But let's have a conversation about that, and I'm going to tell you about each. So to me, a perfume oil is definitely something that as a fragrance and perfume lover, you definitely at least want to try. Perfume oils are not for everybody. Some people just don't love that. You know, some people don't like the oil feeling or the oil look of a perfume oil because once it dries down on your skin, it is going to leave like that sheen look depending on the type of oil. But if it's a dry oil, I find that it won't even leave that. The beauty of these perfume oils is that while they are going to leave a little bit of a sheen look on your skin, it's not something that you know, it's not the type of perfume oil that just sits on the surface of your skin. No, what I love about these perfumes is that your skin definitely picks them up. And at that, the showstopper here is that the scent goes on and on and on and on. So I did test all 4 and I did find slight differences in performance. So I'm going to go ahead and speak to that. Now, as I speak to that, keep in mind that this is on my skin. It could perform totally different on you, okay? So on my skin, the one that lasts the least of all 4 is Khair Fusion. And this is the little perfume oil bottle. And Khair Fusion for me, first of all, I do very much enjoy the fragrance itself, the Eau de Parfum. I own all of them. But I have to tell you that that fragrance does perform very well, but it's not beast mode. But with this perfume oil, the performance is just surreal. Even though this one on its own is not the one that lasts the most on my skin, this with the perfume itself is amazing. I am just totally convinced that these were designed to layer with the original fragrance. I don't think that these were designed for you to necessarily just wear them on your own. Could you wear them on your own? Absolutely. But to me, these fragrances, these perfume oils just work so beautifully with the fragrance itself. It takes the fragrance to the next level. Whatever notes you really enjoyed in the Eau de Parfum most likely will be amplified with this one, with these perfume oils, because they really bring out the fragrance more on your skin for sure. But this one on its own does not give me like a full day wear. It'll give me like to the tune of maybe 5 to 6 hours. So the Fusion is the one that on my skin lasts the least. The next one to last the least on my skin is Felicity. And here is the cute little bottle. They are just so adorable. Aren't they so adorable? I just can't even with these little bottles. Like when I first pulled them out of the box, I just couldn't believe it. It's so beautiful. But anyway, so this one does not give me more than 7 hours on skin. But if I spray Khair Felicity over it, you know that scent, how we love the scent of Khair Felicity? Well, the scent just goes to the next level. It is just amazing. And that is a fragrance that does perform very well on my skin. It's not beast mode, but it does perform really well. But with the oil, it is just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Now, the next one that performs the longest on my skin, giving me pretty well like 7 hours and a half, approaching 8, but not quite making it, is the Confection Perfume Oil. And look at this. Oh, this is just so stunning. I'm telling you, I can't even with these little bottles. But this one does perform very well. Now, here's the thing though. When I layer it with the perfume, it does like pull certain notes that I typically don't get if I just wear the perfume on its own. It may not do that with you. I'm pretty sure that it won't do that on your skin, which is why I'm not telling you which are those two notes, because then most likely you'll have it in your head and then you'll be like, yeah, Rahi, you were right. You know, those notes do stick out, and I don't want you to go through that. But this does perform very nicely on its own, and with the fragrance is, for me, on my skin, it does emphasize a couple of notes. Fortunately, those are notes that I really enjoy because I do love confection as a fragrance overall. So yeah, but let us know if you've tried this confection and have you experienced anything like that, and how is it performing on your skin? And of course, last but not least, you know that we're down to pistachio. So pistachio is a different level. The pistachio perfume oil definitely gives me 8+ hours. And when I tell you that the projection of this one is just surreal, the projection is really surreal. The sillage is a bit moderate, but this one with the fragrance, when you layer it with the fragrance, I don't know about you, but on my skin, Khair pistachio has been sitting in my collection for I think over a year. And I have to tell you that that fragrance is beast mode. But when I layer it with this oil, first of all, you are going to get such a blast of pistachio. It really takes that note to the next level. But the entire scent in itself is just so incredible when you layer it with this perfume oil. It really does take it to the next level. Absolutely love it. And I am so enjoying this cuteness because this is just too cute. So all in all, do I recommend these 4 perfume oils? I definitely recommend them. And I will tell you what I told a fam member in the comment section of that video where I did the unboxing. Do I recommend the perfume oils? I'm going to say what I say about any perfume oil. I recommend that you try the perfume oil, or that you pick it up, only if you are one of those fam members that's truly into layering with a perfume oil. Because what I don't want is for you to pick it up and then just have it sitting there and not use it. This is the type of product that, in my opinion, you have to be into layering. You have to enjoy. There's an art to layering, and there's an experience that comes with layering. And it's not for everybody, just like everything is not for everybody. So if you are into layering, these are 4 that I highly recommend that you pick up. If you love Khair fragrances, all these 4, if you love these 4 fragrances and you're into layering, do yourself a favor. Just pick them up because it's really worth it. Anyway, I just wanted to go ahead and share with you those perfume oils today and give you all the details behind them as much as I can give you. I mean, this is really more about you trying it on your skin. But let us know in the comment section, did you pick up any of them or all of them? And have you tried them? And what experience have you had with them? Are you enjoying them? Do you recommend them? All right, fam. So we have reached the end of today's video, and I hope that you really enjoyed the 4 fragrances and the 4 oils that I shared with you. I hope that I was able to answer any questions that you may have, and also bring to your attention fragrances that some of them have not been launched yet, others have been launched. I will have a link for you and a discount code in the description box. But for the most part, these fragrances and oils are ones that I highly recommend. These are truly incredible. Those Maison Asrar fragrances, I can't speak highly enough of them. I am telling you, you can thank me later. And when it comes to the Paris Corner perfume oils, they are absolutely exquisite. And needless to say, Qissa Gala is an immediate love for me. That is unprecedented for me when it comes to the Qissa line. So I have been so happy. But anyway, let us know if you've tried any of these fragrances or perfume oils. What has been your experience? How are you enjoying it? And as always, thank you so much for hanging with me on a Middle Eastern Thursday. And I will see you all in the next video.